Hi everyone, welcome back to Eve Math Tutoring. Today's lesson is on simplification of algebraic radicals, also referred to as algebraic roots. So I did a previous lesson on how to simplify just radicals or roots, and on this lesson I'm going to do examples with algebra. Okay, so let's start off with a simple example. So now say you've got something like the following. You want to simplify the root of 50x to the 5. So this here is the second root. So I can write this as 25 times 2. And x to the 5 I can write as x to the 4 times x to the 1. And the reason I did that is because, now let's do the numbers first now. So first of all, the numbers, I can bring out the 25 and it becomes a 5, and the 2 remains inside the root. And the reason for that is 5 times 5 is 25, so the square root of 25 is 5. Now for the algebra, when I take out an algebraic variable outside of a root, I have to divide the exponent by whatever number is over here. So in this case, there's actually a 2 here. So when I take this out, it becomes x to the 4 over 2, so it gets divided by 2. And this here would just give me x to the 1 over 2. So I'm going to leave that in there. This is going to become 5x to the 2. Sorry, this should be a 2. Okay, let's just delete that for a second. Alrighty. This here becomes a 2, and then we've got that right there. So 2x, okay? So this would be our final answer. So what we did is we brought out the 25 because it can be square rooted evenly. And then when I bring out x to the 4, it gets divided by the 2 here, so which becomes 2. And I leave this here because if I brought out the x to the 1, it would become x to the half, and we don't want to express these algebraic variables with exponents with fractions, okay, when we're simplifying in root format. Okay, so that's how you would simplify something like that example. We can do a whole bunch of these, so let's do a few more. Say you want to simplify the square root 36x squared to the y. So when I bring out the 36, it becomes 6. When I bring out the x, the square becomes x to the 1, because I divide it by the 2 that's actually written here, which you don't see in mathematics. And the y I'm not going to bring out because it's y to the power of 1, and 1 does not divide evenly by 2. I end up with a decimal. So what I do is I leave that inside the root, and this here is my final answer, written in simplest form. Okay? And this is assuming we're not writing our answer with fractional exponents. We're writing our answers in root format. So let's do a few more. So let's do the third root of x to the 2, y to the 5. Now, 2 is less than 3, so I can't take that out. I'm going to leave that in. This, though, I can rewrite as y to the 3 times y to the 2, and the reason I do that is because if I take this part out, I can divide it by 3 evenly. I just end up with y to the 1, y to the 3 over 3, and then I'm left with x squared, y squared. So that is the part. That would be our final, oops, and don't forget your little third root there. So that would be our final answer there, okay? We'll do a few more examples. Say we've got the fourth root of 64, and we're simplifying, don't forget, 64m squared n to the 4. Now 64, I can take the fourth root of 64 evenly. Sorry, I can't. What I can do is I can write 64 as, let's see here, 32. Okay, let's write it as 32 times 2. This one is less than 4, so I can't do anything with that. And this one I'm just going to leave for now. Now, I'm dealing with the numbers first here. Okay, so The 32 to the x root of 4, well, 2 to the power of 4 is equal to 32, so that means the fourth root of 32 is equal to 2. Boom, that one's done. So I brought that out. This 2 stays inside the root. Don't forget to write that little 4 there. And the m squared stays in because 2 is less than 4, so I'm not going to bring that out. However, this m to the 4 I can bring out because 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1. So I'm going to go at, oops. Okay, just a second here. Now things have gotten a little bit messy. I'm just going to fix this up. Okay, let's fix this up a little bit here because it's gotten really messy. Okay, so just give me a second. This is n to the 4. Okay, let's go back here. N to the 4. Okay, now, so we brought out the 32, became a 2. I left the m squared. I can bring out n to the 4. When I do, it becomes, let me just delete this and go like this. When I do, it becomes n to the 1. And here is our final answer. Da, da, da. Right here. Okay? There we go. So that's, and this 4 is not attached to the n, okay? The 4 is the fourth root of, that 4 is part of the root here. The fourth root of, the n is separate, it's out, so it becomes like this. So this is your final answer, 2n, fourth root of 2m squared, okay? So that's your final answer. So let's try another example. So if we have got 3 times the fifth root of 32 to the xy 11, and we are simplifying. Now, first thing I want to deal with is that 32. Now, 2 to the power of 5 does equal to 2. So I can take that out. When I do, the fifth root of 32 is 2, so it becomes 2. Then the fifth root of xy 11 is left. Now, this one here, I can write it as, I'm just simplifying that part. This part is, I can write this as y to the 10 as times y to the 1. And the reason I did that is because 10 is divisible by 5. So I can bring this part out. And when I do, it becomes 6 fifth root of, sorry, when I bring out the y to the 10, it gets divided by the 5 and becomes y to the 2. And then this fifth root stays here. So the fifth root is here. Becomes y to the 1. So that is our final answer. So 6y squared, fifth root of y, root y. Okay? So there is our answer. So we can do more examples. Let's do another example. Let's do 6, the third root of 16x to the 4. Okay, so 6, 13, 6, okay, 6, okay, just a second here, I'm now getting confused. 16, da, 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 da. The third root of 2, okay, 2 times 2 times 2. So let's write this as 8 times 2, because 8 can be rooted evenly. And let's write down the x as x to the 3 times x to the 1. So x to the 4 is the same thing as x to the 3 times x to the 1. And you know that from previous lessons, okay? So when we actually, now that we have this form, this can be, now when you take this out, you're not square rooting because there's a 3 here. So it's actually the cube root, okay? So you're cube rooting whatever you take out of this root. So when you cube root 8, you get the number 2. So that gets cube rooted out, okay? And then this part, when I take, with algebra, it's a little bit different. When you take out the algebraic term, the exponent gets divided by whatever your number is here. So in this case, it's 3 divided by 3, so it becomes x to the 1. And we don't have to write the 1 down. And this here, oops, this here stays as 2 to the x. Okay, so I'm just going to clean that up a little bit. Alrighty. There. Okay, so this becomes 12 to the x, 3 to the 2x. Final answer. Wait a minute. This 3 is attached to this. Boom. Not to the x. So that you gotta be careful there, okay? So that 3 there is actually attached to this, like that, okay? So that's it. So 12x times the third root of 2x is your final answer. So that's how you simplify algebraic roots. Okay. Now, if you've got a few examples where, I'm just going to close this and add another one. Say you've got an example where you've got something like this and you're simplifying, say, the square root of a to the 3 minus a squared b. Now, in this case, what you want to do is see what you can factor out of there. So I'm going to factor the a squared out of there, and I'm going to be left with a minus b. And when I do that, I can actually take this out of here. And when I do this 2, that's not written, but it's there, divides this 2, so it becomes a to the 1, and it just becomes root a minus b. Finished. Okay? And there's a few more that we can do. Say you've got x times x to the 4 minus x to the 3, y to the 2. Now in this case, what you can do here is you can factor out the x to the 2. And the reason I'm doing that is because there's a 2 here, so I want something I can divide out, that I can divide by 2. So I'm not going to factor out x to the 3, because x to 3 divided by 2 is going to give me a decimal, okay, or a fraction. I don't want a decimal or a fraction when I'm simplifying roots. So remember, we are simplifying, okay? So in this case, like I said, we're going to factor out x to the 2 because that divides by 2. And actually, we can't factor out the y to the 2. So now we're left with x to the 2 minus xy squared, all in brackets. So now this can come out. When it does, it becomes x times x squared minus xy squared. X times x is x squared minus xy squared. Finished. So that's how you would do that example. Okay? That's another one. And the question would say, simplify. Okay. So you get the drift. So what you're basically going to do with these is use the rules for how to simplify algebraic expressions first. How to factor. And factor something out that you can actually take out of your root. So you want to keep in mind what your exponent is here. So the reason I took out x2 is because there's a 2 here, and I know 2 is divisible by 2, and it's the biggest one I could have factored out from here. If I could have factored out an x to the 4, I would have done that as well. But a 3 I wouldn't, because 3 doesn't divide 2 evenly. Okay? So that's how you would do that one. Alrighty, so that's that. So let's see. I think that makes sense. I'm just thinking if I should do another example here to clarify what I'm saying here. Okay, let me do. Let's see here. I'm going to do one more example, okay? Yeah, let's do another example. So let's do one with let's simplify something like this. So if you've got the cube root of x to the 4 minus a squared x to the 3. Okay, now in this case, you've got a 3 here. So when you're factoring inside here, you want to take out something with a power of 3. So I'm going to factor out x to the 3. When I do, I'm left with x minus a squared. Now, and the reason I did that is because when I take this, I want to be able to take this out and divide these two numbers. So when I divide this by this number, this gets divided by this number, okay, so it becomes x to the 3 over the outside 3, okay, and that equals x to the 1. So this becomes x to the 1, and then this becomes x minus a squared. Finished. That's an a squared there. Okay, so that would be the answer for that one. So that's how you would simplify that one. Okay? So, yeah, so let's keep it at that. So that's exponents. I'm going to do another lesson on how to simplify radicals involving algebraic radicals with fractions. Okay? All right, hope you enjoyed. Remember, if there's any examples you can't tackle, go ahead and post them on the channel page. I will do a video for you. Okay? So if you're doing a question in your homework and you don't know how to solve one of your questions, post it on the channel or email it to me, evemathtutoring@outlook.com. I will do a lesson just for your question. I will address the questions that you send me, okay? I would prefer that you try to post on the channel page. It might be a little hard for you if you don't have math functions, but you can put in like words as well, and just shoot them at me. And if you've got questions that you're really stuck on, like stuff like these examples here that you can't figure out, go ahead and post them on the channel page, and I will post a video answering your math question.